One of the strangest things that happened to me after I started understanding money wasn't that I cared about it more. It was that I slowly stopped caring about things that I used to constantly stress over. And honestly, that surprised me because I thought the more I understood about money, the more I would get more anxious and feel like I need to be more careful. But the opposite started happening. As I started to get clear about how money works, certain worries that used to bother me just lost their grip. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie, and I'm in my 40s, and my financial journey hasn't exactly followed a straight line. I married young, became a mom at 19, went through a divorce and layoffs, and later paid off $180,000 in debt. Now I'm remarried, on track to paying off our home, and moving toward early retirement. And this channel is where I share what I'm learning and what's actually working as I go. If you're on this journey too, you're in the right place. One of the things I stopped caring about was other people's financial timelines. I realized that what I would be doing was constantly measuring myself to other people's timelines. Their financial successes would equal me thinking, should I be doing that? Should I be at their same level? And, social media shows you every day that, people are going on vacations, they're buying new homes, they're getting new cars, they're getting that promotion, and that constantly bombards you every day. And you kind of feel like maybe you're behind, but that's their timeline, right? And it's that quiet pressure that no one really tells you you need to do, but you kind of feel like that's what you need to be doing. And what I thought would actually happen would be that the more I learned about money, the more I would feel the pressure that, yeah, you truly are behind. And social media just makes it even more real, where you feel as though you're behind because you see everybody else doing all these awesome things. And here you are still shoveling away, trying to figure out how you're going to pull yourself out of debt. But what I realized was that their timeline is different than my timeline. My success does not equal their success. So you could have a friend or a family member that their idea of success is having a six-figure income. But your idea of success could mean that you want to be debt free and have a paid off home. So the timelines are not equal. And honestly, a lot of people's highlight reels that they show, they optimize for things, for stuff, right? But they could be flat broke. And that lifestyle is just an appearance, and their financial handcuffs is keeping them from taking a step forward. So, what I realized was progress is personal to you and not competitive. But comparison wasn't even the biggest shift. When I think back, I used to stress over every little purchase. I used to do math gymnastics in my head every time I would go to the store. Do I have enough? Is that name brand mayonnaise going to throw me off? And I'm going to regret later looking at that mayonnaise and I should have saved that dollar, right? I used to stress over every little purchase. And I would feel like one little mistake was going to throw me completely off track and I'd have to start all over again. I used to believe that financially responsible people tracked every single penny. And if you don't have it categorized and color coded and you know where every dime and every penny goes, that you're not really paying down debt. You're really not moving forward. You're not financially responsible. But what I realized was systems matter than everyday decisions. Once you automate your savings and your investments, then you don't need to be as hands on as you were before. It's automatically taken care of for you. So that thought process, that mental gymnastics that you're going through every time when you want to make a purchase, your savings, your investments, that's all happening in the background. So that part of your brain can just kind of shut down thinking, hey, I have this handled. So, what I learned is that freedom comes from structure and not restriction. And then this is where something unexpected started happening. I used to believe that the more money you make, the more problems that you'll get rid of, right? I used to think if I could just make six figures, then all my problems would be solved, right? If I could make X amount of money, then I would solve for Y. And I would have that in my head. And every time I would move up the ladder and gain a little bit more income, that bar would move up a little bit higher. And society reinforces this marker. When you run into somebody and you meet them for the first time, what's the first thing they ask you? What's your name and what do you do for a living, right? And the longer your title, the more important you sound, which therefore means you make more money or you make a lot of money. That's the societal norm, that you state what you do for a living. And based on that title, people will kind of judge on what you could probably be making a month or week. But the trap was always that you would feel like your raises were just never enough. You would always have to bring that bar a little bit higher to get to that, perfect number that would make all your problems go away. So the more clear I would get on what that would mean for me would be that I didn't need to keep moving up the ladder, because the more money you make, obviously the more problems that you have. And what I needed to figure out was the money that I currently have, I need to get a hold of my finances with the money that I'm bringing in. So I didn't need to earn more. I needed to get rid of the chaos that I already had in my life, which means I needed to get a hold of my expenses. Control over your expenses plus time matters more than your salary size. And that feeling of security comes from predictability, not how much you make a month. But the next one actually surprised me the most. You set yourself up, you start crossing off debt, right? And then you wait for that moment, that confetti to pop up in the air that says that you made it, right? That moment in time where you say, I did it. I'm financially independent. I paid off all my debt. I'm debt free and I made it. And the problem is no one talks about that. That feeling never really comes. You always have that silence. You thought that happiness would just appear. And what I found was that nobody really talks about how subtle this change is, right? Nothing dramatic really happens at all. There's no big moment, right? That noise just calms down, or that noise, that chaos, that nagging, feeling, those thoughts that used to go through your head that says, you need to get out of debt, you got to do better, you got to save more. Those thoughts just kind of quiet in the background. And I noticed over time that I stopped thinking about it as much. And when I would go to sleep, I would, fall asleep and not have all those thoughts in my brain. And slowly but surely, I realized, I'm not really thinking about it as much. So the biggest change wasn't about having more money. It was that noise, that chaos that I would feel. It was just silent. I don't want to give the impression that, I don't have any worries at all. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still adjusting my habits and I'm still figuring things out. But what I'm noticing now is that those thoughts don't control my thinking anymore. And it starts when understanding replaces fear. The more you understand about how money works, the less scared you are of it. And the more powerful you become over the money that you earn. And that small clarity compounds over time dramatically. And this channel is here specifically for people that are learning later in life like I did. And these are the things that, I feel that I needed to know when I first started. So all my learnings, I want to share it with you so that you can build clarity step by step as I did. So if you found value in this video, please consider subscribing, as that really does help the channel grow. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.